At this moment, the world is witnessing the brutal murder of several people, the fleeing of many others from their homelands, killing of soldiers in the battlefield, rape of hapless women, and the oppression of hundreds of people. The world has seen many wars since time immemorial. Sri Lanka is one of the countries where people are losing their livelihood and are being strangled every day. The 65,610 square kilometer island nations, situated south of the Indian subcontinent in South Asia, is home to Sinhalese, Tamils, and Muslims. The Tamil and the Sinhalese kingdoms in Sri Lanka were merged during the British rule. But after independence in 1948, there has been recorded a history of 2,500 years. It has been witnessing civil war for the last 3 decades. Over 100,000 people have been massacred, and more than 1.5 million people have fled the nation. Jaffna is the capital city of the Tamil-dominated northern province, bearing testimony to the vexed ethnic strife. This is the story of a library in Jaffna.
I joined the library as an ordinary member. My membership number was 458 or so. In 1948, I went upstairs, the planks were creaking. I went there, and to my surprise, I found almirahs and almirahs of books. Reverend Dr. Tambaya's collection was on one side, 3 or 4 almirahs. Ancient magazines, classical Tamil works, foreign magazines, new books. So to a young man like me from the village, these books were a wonder. The people of Jaffna were proud to have such a big library. Now all those books are no more in Jaffna.
நேற்று என் கனவில் புத்தர் பெருமான் சுடப்பட்டிருந்தார். சிவில் உடை அணிந்த அரச காவலர் அவரை கொன்றனர். யாழ் நூலகத்தின் படிக்கட்டருகே அவரது சடலம் குருதியில் கிடந்தது. இரவின் இருளில் அமைச்சர்கள் வந்தனர். எங்கள் பட்டியலில் இவர் பெயர் இல்லை, பின் ஏன் கொன்றீர் என்று சினந்தனர். இல்லை ஐயா, தவறுகள் எதுவும் நிகழவே இல்லை. இவரை சுடாமல் ஒரு ஈயினை கூட சுட முடியாது போயிற்று எம்மால் ஆகையினால்தான் என்றனர் அவர்கள். சரி சரி, உடனே மறையுங்கள் பிணத்தை என்று கூறி அமைச்சர்கள் மறைந்தனர். சிவில் உடையாளர் பிணத்தை உள்ளே இழுத்துச் சென்றனர். 90,000 புத்தகங்களினால் புத்தரின் மேனியை மூடி மறைத்தனர். சிகாலோகவாத சூத்திரத்தினை கொளுத்தி எரித்தனர். புத்தரின் சடலம் அஸ்தியானது. தம்ம பதமும் தான் சாம்பரானது.
The Jaffna Public Library was burnt alive. The Tamil Knowledge Bank was reduced to a heap of ashes. Ancient manuscripts, historical documents, and over 97,000 books were lost in the infernal blaze. News of the burning down of the library in the early hours of the 2nd of June 1981 spread like wildfire across Jaffna.
எல்லாம் கட்டிடம் இடிஞ்செல்லாம் முடிஞ்சா கிடக்கு. எல்லாரும் ஜனங்கள் எல்லாம் ஓடி போய் பார்க்க எடுத்தனா அனுமாரிகளை துறந்தாங்க. எல்லாம் வெறும் சாம்பல். பெரிய சிங்கத்தின் தகப்பண்ட கலெக்ஷன் நம்பி ஒரு 3 அலுமாரிடா. அது மாதிரி இருந்த யாழ்ப்பாண புத்தகங்கள் என்னென்னு தெரியுமா உங்களுக்கு? My God, we have lost an intellectual heritage.
அங்கே தான் படித்து நான் பட்டம் பிறகு வழிகாட்டியாக இருந்தது. ஓய்வு நேரத்தில் போய் படிப்பேன். இலவசமாக எல்லாம் கிடைச்சிது. ஆனால் அதை இழந்தது ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு அறிவிச்சல் இழந்ததுக்கு அந்த தாகத்தை தீர்க்க முடியாது.
Father David, அந்த ஷோக்கோட he died.
Father David, a Catholic priest who had a special place for the library in his heart, suffered a cardiac arrest. The Tamil scholar and famed etymologist regarded the library as his life.
அவருடைய லைப்ரரி, அவருடைய அந்த லிங்குவிஸ்டிக் ஃபிலாலஜி நான் சொல்கிறது, அந்த ஃபிலாலஜி ரிசர்ச் எல்லாம் அங்கே தான் செய்கிறேன். அவ்வளோ புத்தகங்கள் கிடக்கிற கருத்து. அது பெரிய மாபெரும் கதை.
In 1933, one K.M. Chellappa from Jaffna wrote a letter to the public stressing the importance of having a free library. The open letter was published in newspapers as an advertisement. Tamils from across the nation came forward to start a library. People also donated funds and books for the purpose. Thus, the Jaffna Central Library became a reality with 844 books. The running of the library was handed over to the Jaffna City Municipal Council on January 1, 1935 by the Library Development Committee. The library, functioning from a rented house, didn't suffice to accommodate the growing number of readers every day. So, the City Municipal Council decided to construct a new building to house the library. A committee, headed by noted educationist Father Long, was formed by the then Mayor Sam A. Sabapathy to construct the building. Funds were collected from the public for raising the new building. Proceeds from cultural shows and games, besides donations, added to the collections. The Jaffna Tamils wanted an exceptional library for themselves. Eminent librarian S.R. Ranganathan visited the area to set up the library with international standards. He identified a piece of land in the heart of Jaffna near the Jaffna Municipal Council building. The architectural design was done by Mr. Narasimhan, an eminent architect. On March 29, 1954, the foundation stone was laid by Mr. Sam A. Sabapathy, Mayor of Jaffna. On October 11, 1959, the then Jaffna Mayor Alfred Durayappa declared open the library. The library, reflecting the architectural splendor of the Dravidians, stood as an imposing structure in the heart of the city. The new library housed over 16,000 books. It was during this period that the Jaffna-based American Library handed over the management to the Jaffna Library. It became a confluence of rare books from private collections. It was a treasure trove of manuscripts, palm scripts, and compilation of rare Tamil books. The library truly satiated the Tamil diaspora's thirst for knowledge.
நூலகத்துக்கு முன்னாலே ஒரு சரஸ்வதி சிலை இருக்குது. அந்த சிலைக்கு எத்தனையோ பெற்றோர்கள் அந்த பொங்கியும் இருக்கிறார்கள். தங்களோட பிள்ளைகள் அந்த நூலகத்தில் படித்து பாஸ் பண்ணதுக்கும் வேலை கிடைச்சதுக்குமாக அந்த நேர்த்திக்கடன் மாதிரி கூட செய்தார்கள். அப்படியான ஒரு புனிதமான இடம்தான் இந்த புதுசன நூலகம்.
Jaffna Public Library contained books and documents not only in Tamil but also in other languages like Sanskrit, Dutch, French, and in Latin, as far as I could remember now.
So the cultural background, educational background, religious background, sociological background, everything was from the library to the public.
அந்த நூலகத்தில் கடைசியாக நான் வேலை செய்து போட்டு பின்னேரம் வீட்டுக்கு வந்துட்டோம். வீட்டுக்கு வந்தால் யாழ்ப்பாணம் ஒரே அமளி துமளி, பெரிய பிரகண்டங்கள், இதுகளெல்லாம் ஆரவாரங்கள் எல்லாம் நடந்து கொண்டிருந்த நாள்.
The government of Sri Lanka brought forward the system of District Development Council so as to resolve the contradiction between the Tamils and the Sinhalese. In the course of the election campaign for the District Development Council, violence unleashed. A large number of shops, people's residential houses, the office of the Tamil United Liberation Front, the house of the Member of the Parliament, and the office of Yelanadu, the first ever regional daily newspaper of Sri Lanka, were burnt down, along with the Jaffna Library.
On the 31st of May at about 8:50, I was addressing a meeting near Nachima Koviladi. While I was addressing a meeting, I found the crowd moving hither and thither, and I also heard at the same time the sound of a cracker. I told the crowd that it was only a sound of a cracker, not to get disturbed and to get back to their places. The crowd was about to receive. Again, they ran hither and thither. In the meanwhile, I noticed police officer Kanaga Sundaram, who passed away. He was working in the courthouse. He was about 15 yards away from the platform. I asked him, at that time he was armed with a revolver and his revolver was pointing towards the sky. He was swirling around. I asked him, Kanaga Sundaram, what are you doing? He said, sir, I have been shot by someone. Could you please help me by giving a car? I appealed to the crowd saying that to bring a car. A person by the name of Subhaya Yoga Singham immediately volunteered. Car came to the spot where he stood, and Anthony Sill, he's the editor of the Thievery paper. He assisted him in to get into the car, and he was dispatched to the hospital. Unfortunately, the car that had removed him to the hospital, when it returned, it stopped for want of the petrol and it was set fire to by the army. Thereafter, taking into account the damage done to the public library, the press, the Yelanadu press, and other shops that were also subsequently damaged, it would be, in my opinion, about 100 million.
ஈழநாடு பத்திரிகை நிறுவனத்துக்கு நுழைந்த ஆயுததாரிகள் 50க்கு அதிகமானவர்கள் வந்து முதலாக அவர்கள் செய்தது முன்னுக்கு இருந்த சைக்கிள், மோட்டார் சைக்கிள், கார் எல்லாத்தையும் எரித்துவிட்டு அடுத்ததாக அச்சக பகுதிக்குள் போந்து அந்த மெஷினுக்கு நெருப்பூட்டினார். அங்கிருந்த நிர்வாக முகாமையாளரும் நானும் அந்த கோர அனர்த்தத்துக்குள் அகப்பட்டு என்ன நடக்கிறது என்பதை அவதானிப்பதற்காக நின்றோம். எங்களை நோக்கி காடியர்கள் வந்த பொழுது நாங்கள் ஒரு கதவின் பின்னால் ஒளித்து கொண்டதால் அவர்கள் எங்களை அடையாளம் காணாமல் 4 திசைகளிலும் பெட்ரோல் குண்டுகளை எறிந்து அந்த நிறுவனத்துக்கு முழுமையாக தீயூட்டினார்கள். நாங்கள் அதை நேரில் கண்ணால் பார்த்தோம். தீ மூட்டி முழுமையாக பஸ்பமாக பார்த்த பொழுது நீங்கள் பயந்திருப்பீர்கள். மேல் கட்டிடத்தினுடைய கூரைகள் எல்லாம் முழுமையாக அந்த மர பீம்கள் எல்லாம் இடிந்து சாம்பலாகி கிடந்த காட்சியை பார்த்து தமிழ் மக்கள் முழுவதும் கண்ணீர் வடித்த காட்சி அன்றைக்கு அடுத்த நாள் இருந்தது.
When I got the news on 1st of June 1981 from the watchers who were on duty at the municipal office, which is just about 300 yards away from this library, I was trying to move out to come. In the meantime, I had a call from Mrs. Jogendra Dureswamy. I took my car and came up to Point Petro Hospital Road Junction, where I was obstructed. Still, I somehow or other explained and came up to the Chapel Street, First Cross Street Junction, which is just facing the center of the library. But at that point of time, when I came, the library was already on flame, and I was never allowed to even take my car and turn my car, and I was threatened with life and harm if I tried to move even a foot more, and I was turned on. But I got down when I spoke to the armed personnel police uniform. They never allowed. But at that time, I was able to see the entirety of the library going on flame. So I had to get back. it may be around 1,000 who was patient kept in the stadium. I think it was they who they had done it. And they were supposed to be armed personnel, so from the armed forces. These were people who were supposed to have came for election duty.
இவர்கள் மந்திரியல் செல்வன் மேத்யூ யாழ்ப்பாணம் வந்த பொழுது அவருடைய சகாக்கள் இங்கே வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அது மாத்திரமல்ல, தேர்தல் என்ற போர்வையில் போலீஸ் உத்தியோகத்தர்கள் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள் பலர். அவர்கள் சீருடையில் சிலர், மற்றது அவர்கள் சிவில் உடையிலும் அவர்கள் திரிகிறார்கள்.
That time the police station was just about 300 yards from this place. They had never tried to put down the fire. They had not done anything at all. The police personnel had never done anything. So that clearly shows that there were connivance.
Colombo leadership, since they had a minority mentality, wanted to teach a lesson, especially during the early periods of the ethnic conflict. They wanted to teach a lesson to the Sri Lankan Tamils, and therefore several measures were taken against the interest of the Tamil people in Sri Lanka. For example, 1956, the Sinhala Only Act was an act undertaken in order to minimize or limit the development of the Tamil people. As part of that larger project, the library was burnt in 1981.
If we are governing, we must govern. If we are ruling, we must rule. Do not give in to the minorities. We are born as Sinhalese and as Buddhist in the country. Mrs. Vimala Kannangara, Minister for Rural Development. If there is a discrimination in this land which is not their homeland, then why try to stay here? If the sleeping Sinhalese wake up to see the Tamils trying to establish a Tamileelam in Sri Lanka, then things may not be quite calm. Mr. W.J.M. Lokubandara, MP in Sri Lankan Parliament 1981. Now he is a speaker in Sri Lankan Parliament.
That clearly shows that there was an intention by the perpetrators of this crime that the Jaffna people who are normally educated and who are fighting for freedom, fighting for certain type of self-rule or federalism, whatever it is, they thought that these institutions like the libraries are the institutions which are educating and the source of their knowledge and ability. They must have thought that by destroying this type of institutions, they can threaten the Tamils on the one hand, and on the other they can pull out, take away the resources of education from the society. That was a sadly mistaken approach, but I think that should have been a crude way of thinking in the minds of the perpetrators.
This was not only a blow to the Tamil people and the Tamil intellectuals, it was a blow to the whole country, because this, even though it was, the library was based in Jaffna, it was truly one of the great treasures of Sri Lanka. It was one of our national prides, having such a library in this country. So burning this library, I would say, was a massive psychological blow to our whole country. Because, and also internationally, that was a huge black mark against Sri Lanka.
During the District Development Council election in 1981, some of our party members took many people from other parts of the country to the north, created havoc and distributed the conduct of elections in the north. If you wish to find out who burned the priceless collections of books of the Jaffna Library, you have only to look at the faces of those who are opposing us. Sri Lanka President Ranasinghe Premadasa.
The only people who benefited from such a move was the extremist elements amongst the Tamil society as well. Basically, Sri Lankans and especially the governments who did such acts must take the full responsibility of driving moderate Tamil opinion towards extremists.
The ultimate solution is separate state is the only solution.
லைப்ரரியை உடனடியாக திறக்க வேணும். ஏனென்றால் எரித்தவர்களுடைய விருப்பம் நிறைவேறக்கூடாது. அதாவது எங்களோட கல்வியில் ஒரு சிறிதேனும் நாங்கள் தளர்வடையக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லி உடனடியாக பத்திரிகை பகுதியை நாங்கள் மாநகர சபையில் ஒரு அறைக்குள் துவங்கினோம். நாங்கள் சஞ்சிகைகள் வாங்கி போட்டு பிறகு லைப்ரரி திருப்பி புனருத்தாரணம் செய்வதற்கான ஆயத்தங்கள் எங்களால் தொடங்கப்பட்டு அந்த சாம்பல் மேட்டுக்குள்ளேயே இருந்து நாங்கள் அடுத்த கட்ட நூலகத்தை வளர்க்கிறதுக்காக புத்தகங்களை வாங்கி போட்டு கிளாசிஃபிகேஷன் கேட்டலாகிங் அதுகளை செய்து கொண்டு இருந்தன.
நாங்கள் யோசித்தன்படி பல அவருடைய கருத்தின் அடிப்படையில் இந்த எனக்கு பின்னால் இருக்கின்ற தொகுதியினுடைய தெற்கு புறத்தை ஒரு நினைவு சின்னமாக வைத்துக்கொண்டு நரசிம்மன் திட்டத்தில் கட்டப்படாமல் இருந்த மேற்கு புற கட்டிடத்தை கட்டி அதை பூர்த்தி செய்ய வேண்டும் என்ற நடவடிக்கை எடுத்தோம்.
At a time when the public library was rising like a phoenix from the ashes by collecting books from various sources, the ethnic crisis intensified in the island nation. On April 10, 1985, the Jaffna police station was attacked by the Tamil rebels. In retaliation, the imposing Jaffna Corporation building came under attack.
Of May, there was a boy who came into the library and with a rocket launcher attacked the Jaffna fort. So when he attacked from the army camp, from the ramparts, there were the army people repulsed and they were attacking the students who were studying inside the library. So I informed Mr. C.V.K. Sivanganam saying that this has taken place. So he contacted the army commander and then they asked us to move immediately from the premises. So there were students as well as staff. Nearly about 80 people were there. So I thought of moving out with these staff. So along with the staff, the public were moved out. So when we came out of the building premises, it would have been like 4:30. So in the night, the same day night at about 9:30, I stay very close to the library. I heard the bomb blast.
It became a battlefield. The Tamil rebels, fighting the Lankan army, laid a siege to the Jaffna fort. Now, the library, transformed into a sanctuary for the rebels. For more than 5 years, it remained a battlefield. Caught in the midst of the terrible fight, the library was riddled with bullets. In the following years, civil war and peace talks took turns to take the center stage in Sri Lankan politics. Like the Tamil population, the library too bore the brunt of the recurring attacks.
When the library was burned, the Sinhalese had a mentality to undermine the interest of the Tamil people because they did not expect a retaliation by the Tamils in 1981 and also in 1983. The military strength of the Tamils were very marginal. There were a few groups with small arms and all. However, they were not strong enough to challenge the Sri Lankan government. But after 1985, the Tamil militancy has become so important and so strong, it could easily challenge the dominance of the Sri Lankan government, particularly in the north and the east. When the war became so brutal and the people were victimized due to the war, the mentality in Colombo or the south changed drastically. That's why the Sinhala people in 1994 voted Mrs. Chandrika Kumaratunga into power because she promoted peace and reconciliation.
But war broke out on a large scale in the north of the island of Sri Lanka, totally drowning the wishes of the people of the country. The people of Jaffna, men, women and children, nearly 500,000 left their ancient native land in a single day, seeking a place of refuge in fear of war. The city of Jaffna lost its residents and became a war-swallowed void. The government of Sri Lanka thought of covering its stains by whitewashing the Jaffna Library, which stood aloof in the vacant nation, bereft of humans.
When the People's Alliance government came into power in 1994, on the basis that we were going to formulate a solution for the ethnic question which will hopefully bring about a durable peace to Sri Lanka, we felt one of the first acts we must do was to perhaps to correct this historic injustice to the Tamil people. At that time, President Kumaratunga was very keen that we, as a first step towards reconciliation between the two communities, that we start renovating the Jaffna Library. We formed a high-level committee in which the late Foreign Minister Mr. Lakshman Kadragama was also the co-chairman along with me. So we came up with this book and a brick project where school children and people in the villages were encouraged to donate a book or a brick for the library. And actually we had a tremendous response.
1995 ஆண்டில் திருப்ப இராணுவம் யாழ்ப்பாணத்தை கைப்பற்றுவதுடன் வந்து இது சந்திரிகா அரசாங்கத்தினுடைய ஒரு முக்கியமான திட்டமாக முற்திட்டமாக காணப்படுவது என்பது இந்த நூலகத்தை மேலே கொண்டு வருதல் என்பது. அவர்கள் நூலகத்தை மேலுக்கு கொண்டு வருதல் ஊடாக தமிழர்களுடைய எல்லா அபிலாஷைகளையும் பூர்த்தி செய்து கொள்வதாக சந்திரிகாவோ அல்லது அந்த அரசாங்கமோ காட்ட முயன்றது என்பது ஒரு வகையில் லைப்ரரிக்கும் அரசியலுக்கும் இடையிலிருந்து தொடர்பை காட்டுறது ஒரு பக்கம், அல்லது இந்த பிரச்சனையை எவ்வாறு விளங்கி கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள் அல்லது எவ்வளவு மேலோட்டமாக விளங்கி கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள் என்பதும் இதுக்கால புலப்படுறதாக நான் பார்க்கிறேன்.
To take up reconstruction of the library to its past glory, books and building materials were donated to the government from far and wide. With the cooperation of various sources across the globe, the Sri Lankan government took up the work, dismissing the Tamil community's plea to maintain the damaged library as a memorial and build a new one adjacent to it. With the funds collected, the government took up renovation works at the ravaged site.
In fact, the intention at that time when we started reviving the renovating the library was to ensure that the southern portion was kept the same position as it was burned, to perpetuate a memory of what was the crime inflicted on our community.
நாங்கள் சொன்னோம் அதை அந்த துன்பம் அந்த எரிஞ்சப்பட்ட பகுதிகளே ஒரு அதுக்கான ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு காட்சி கூடம் ஒன்று வைத்து அதை முற்றாக நாங்கள் மறக்க தேவையில்லை. அதனுடைய புகைப்படங்கள் போன்றவற்றை எல்லாம் ஒரு காட்சி கூடமாக வைத்து அந்த கிழக்கு பகுதியின் தெற்கு கீழ்த்தரையை அதுக்காக ஒதுக்கும்படி நாங்கள் பல முறை கேட்டிருக்கிறோம்.
My personal view is we are not going to achieve much by maintaining symbols of our ancient wounds. I mean, that is one of our wounds from the past. And by maintaining that wound, I think we will only make reconciliation even more difficult.
ஆனால் இன்றைக்கு அது இல்லாதொழிக்கப்பட்டதன் ஊடாக இந்த போராட்டத்துக்கான ஒரு சாட்சியமாக இதுக்குரிய அடிப்படைகள் எங்கிருந்து உருவாகின என்பதற்கான ஒரு காட்சி சாட்சியை நாங்கள் இழந்திருக்கிறோம்.
A building which stood witness to the trail of destruction for over 25 years became a beautified grave. Opposition grew to the government's and the city municipal council willingness to declare open the library. Hence, it started functioning without even a formal inauguration.
ஆண்டு இந்த கட்டடங்கள்ட கையளிக்கப்பட்டது. இடைக்கால நூலகம் மூடப்பட்டு அங்கிருந்த நூல்கள் ஆவணங்கள் யாவும் இந்த பிரதான நூலக கட்டடத்துக்கு மாற்றப்பட்டு அவை ஒழுங்கு செய்யப்பட்டன.
Today, although the library is rebuilt and functioning, it has failed to promote reconciliation between the Sri Lankan Tamils and the Sinhala people.
Restoration and the renovation of the library was basically a symbolic gesture, I would say, because that was a way of Chandrika Kumaratunga's government as well as the people of Sri Lanka saying we are very sorry for what happened.
எவ்வாறு எரித்தல் என்பது மிகவும் அரசியல் தனமானதோ, எரித்தல் என்பது எவ்வளவுக்கு திட்டமிடப்பட்டு செய்யப்பட்டதோ, அது எவ்வாறு இந்த சமூகத்தினுடைய மனசை அடிப்படையாக கொண்டு மனசை பாதிக்கும்படி செய்யப்பட்டதோ அதே அளவு முக்கியமாக இதனுடைய புனருத்தானம் என்பதும் நிகழ்ந்திருக்கிறது.
பிறகு மை அடிக்கலாம், பெயிண்ட் அடிக்கலாம், கொண்டாந்து ஏற்றலாம், பிறகு வைக்கலாம். இருந்தாலும் உங்களுக்கு இந்த ஆரம்ப கால எரிஞ்ச காலத்தை எங்களால் என்றைக்கும் மறக்க முடியாதானே.
But still I feel I walked into a building that was destroyed by an alien force, and it was that reminds me of the communal violence.
The library, which has seen the infighting for a long period of time, is now under the control of the army. It comes under the Sri Lankan military's high security zone in Jaffna.